everyone, it's Alexis Carabinas, and I'm going to do my Module 3 reflection video. That's a 3. and this is going to be a long video, I can already tell, but it's okay because there's a lot of good information in here. So the first question is, describe your thoughts after watching the videos about how the internet has driven change in the lecture from Professor Wesh. My thoughts on that are the videos really talk about that transition in media and how the community has been brought together. Back in the old days, the only way we got to see each other was through, driving somewhere, so the highways, and TV. Unless you were involved in the PTA, you kind of just stayed home and did your own thing, and that wasn't a real big community. And I think as technology has grown on, we really wanted to get a community together on an individual basis. So myself being my age, I'm used to this kind of technology where I have no problem talking to the camera and knowing that I am going to be talking to a lot of people. Where in the video lecture, the people who were trying to vlog for the first time were having a real difficult, like, I'm not talking to anyone, yet I'm talking to myself. I feel like I talk to myself all the time. Maybe that makes me insane. I don't know. But it has definitely driven change in the sense of how we view the world, because things can be twisted so many ways, and they can also be reached from place to place like that, instead of having to wait months to hear about something or weeks through the newspaper or anything like that. Every new day and age of communication is bringing something faster. This is a day and age where we need information fast, quick. Now we are a very impatient society. So some of the primary messages in the lecture video, I'm using notes because that's how I can stay on top of it and not mumble all over the place. So we are definitely the YouTube generation. We are self-made. We are our own producers, and we make a lot of our own content on YouTube. Now, granted, I'm not going to be a new YouTube sensation, but for this class purpose, we really want to share joy and not care about what anyone thinks, or spread knowledge, which is really good for educators, or even people who are not educated who want to be educated, or don't have the resources to be educated but have another outlet to be educated. That was a lot of educated. Sorry about that. The uploading process used to be so difficult and very how do I put this lightly? Old technology. So everything was pixelated, everything was slow. We didn't like that, and now that technology is so fast, it's easy to upload. Anyone can upload in the Flash. We have to upload for this specific video or every video that we need to YouTube, and we figured it out in one tutorial. YouTube or this new technology gives a community aspect and gives the community a voice. So we want to be heard. The United States is very much a freedom of speech kind of thing, I think is what this is talking about. And having a voice is great. And so other countries, even though some things are closed and you can only talk about certain things without getting sued or getting in trouble, the world really recognizes that, hey, this is an outlet and I can get this information out to people. The next major topic was moving from paper to digital, and that was used in another lecture video in this module, and it just talks about how everything is connected and about meeting new people in new ways. Side note, it's cool that we're watching a video from a professor that teaches at K-State and lives in Kansas. Most of the times you read these kind of things or get these lectures and they're from Chicago and New York. No, they're right here in Kansas. Cool. User generation alternative. So we are creating these alternatives on how to communicate, I think is what they're coming to get at. Another topic that was mentioned in the lecture is media is not just to connect, is not just content or tools of communication, but media mediates human relations, which I completely agree about, because yes, there is content, yes, there's communication between people, but it's about human relations, how people interact with each other, how people confide in one another, talk to one another. A lot of introverts, I would say, have a really hard time talking to people in person, but sometimes when they're in front of a camera or behind a computer, they become a whole different person. We have a new sense of identity, which was also another main topic of this lecture. Another topic was from tiny grocery stores to giant chains. So the media really impacted that because of the way we interact with each other. Like I previously said, connected by roadways and TV. Some of the words that really stuck out to me were express, individual independence, and communication, and value, community, relationship, and authenticity. That was compared. Like, we want one thing, but we also say one thing. Now, this lecture group, they actually participated in what they were studying. So they all did some kind of YouTube interaction. Some people did vlogs, some people watched gaming, some people just talked to each other. That kind of thing. The love story that was involved, I had no idea about that, and that happens way more now in a whole different way, but I think people are honest, but there's still dishonesty going on. I don't know. I found that interesting. They also made a reference to hyper self-awareness, or wearing a new mask to a new identity. Like I said, the internet kind of gives us a way to express ourselves without saying we're expressing ourselves, if that makes sense. Like, I'm an introverted extrovert where I have a loud, proud personality, but then I want to be quiet and soft like I am talking in this video. This is not how I normally am. It's a hyper self-awareness, so this camera's not that great, so I'm aware of how I look right now, and to most people I probably don't look that bad, but on other days I look better. Another set of words were anonymity plus physical distance plus rare and empirical dialogue equals freedom to experience humanity without fear or anxiety. That is a major thing for this generation, especially because technology has caused a lot of anxiety and depression and all these kinds of human emotions that are very dark, but they've also helped rise people out of it. So I think that's two sides to one coin. Like, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, and they kind of coincide with each other. If there wasn't any bad, then there wouldn't be good to counteract it. They also talked about what does YouTube mean to you, and they had a video of the free hugs demonstration. That was adorable. It's kind of like the LGBTQ community, where you see videos of mom hugs or dad hugs because their moms and dads do not accept them anymore for their sexuality or transition. And drama on YouTube to get your ratings higher. I think that was kind of insignificant, but it was a main thing because people do to this day. Crazier the content, the crazier and faster it'll get up to you. What implications do those messages have for you as a future teacher? Do you relate to those messages? I do relate to those messages because I felt like they were talking to me during the entire lecture of how we communicate, and I made realizations that I communicate way different than the people who even made the video in 2008. Alright, next question. Describe the podcast you listen to. I listen to a podcast on Kaleidoscope, Educator Voices and Perspectives. Again, more notes. It is called Teacher Voice, the podcast, and I'll put a link in the discussion board where we're going to post this. And it's stories from teaching, and it's an audio-only podcast, so it was kind of weird. I almost turned off the lights and left the Christmas lights on. I just listened to it and wrote notes. And the topic was what makes a good teacher, and the main points, to sum it up, were there's always more for us to do. 3 different teachers were telling their stories. Some people had 2 years under their belt, some people had 5 years. A lot of them taught science that we're talking, but they're still teachers, so it still relates to me. Places of frustration, feeling unsuccessful, this job is impossible, overwhelmed, and so on and so forth. But back to question 1, the messages what implications do those messages have for you as a future teacher? I have to realize that my students are going to be impacted differently than I am with media today. Like, it's an ever-changing thing. I don't know how it's going to be in 20 years and how my students are going to be impacted by it, but I need to be prepared for it. So that podcast really opened my mind to, I graduate not this year but next year, and I'll be doing my first year of teaching, hopefully when I get hired right away. And a lot of people have struggles, whether it's with their institution, whether it's themselves, whether it's their classroom, and educational podcasts like that are great. What are 2.0 are ways Web 2.0 technologies like podcasting, blogging, wikis can be used in the classroom? I think podcasting can be a way for the teachers to get to know the students. Like if I did a mini podcast in my room, instead of talking to someone one-on-one and them feeling very uncomfortable, make it like a TV show is what kids kind of call podcasts now, and talk to them. And then on the other flip side, have other teachers from other schools do that to their classroom and see if fellow students and teachers think the same way that they do, and maybe there can be explanations on how they do things. If some students don't like how their teachers run, they can explain how their classroom works and why it works best for them if what they're doing in that moment isn't making sense. Should social networking applications like Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, etc. be allowed in P through 12 educational environment? I think YouTube is about it that we can use. Facebook, Twitter, I don't think are really that educational. There could be some educational aspects on there, but that's more for personal information. Yes, YouTube is very personal, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of educational aspects on it, especially in today's age, and I think it's going to get even more impactful. Which cloud-based bookmarking tool did you use, and what were your thoughts after using it? I downloaded Reddit, and to be honest, yes, there are some cool aspects. So I joined this art website, and it was mainly for me to keep. It's almost like a social networking site, and it wasn't really that useful to me. On my computer, I have a bookmarking star that I use through Google Chrome, where I usually use bookmarking for saving websites that I use on a daily basis. So for Hays State University, I bookmarked that, my Gmail, my other previous colleges, this classroom technology I had bookmarked, because I don't want to waste getting onto passwords and blah, 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 and going from Google to Blackboard to everything else. So that's that on that. Reddit was really easy to make an account. You just sign up with your email, and you can also interact with other people talking about those websites. So on this art website that I found that had different images that are really cool, you can see people talking about what they feel on there. Yeah, I think that is it.